Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to In the Zone. Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, the basketball duo. We are here, folks, and I don't even know how to explain it to you. I don't even know how to tell you what happened. But we're going to try. We're going to try, folks. Knicks and Celtics, NBA playoffs, Golden State Warriors, Timberwolves. My goodness. Holy Hondo Havlicek, Pete. Don't even know where to begin. Don't even know where to start. I'm hoping that you got something for me in Pete's corner here so that we can just ease into this a little bit, because this mayhem has even thrown me off.
Really?
The mayhem has thrown me off. I just didn't expect the Celtics and Knicks, and, man, the Cavaliers got punched out. Give me a minute, Pete. I got to grab my life here. I got to grab it back. I just don't know what's going on right now.
The best laid plans of the NBA have been thrown out the window by those pesky, whatever.
Serious upsets. Serious upsets. All right, Pete, we're in Pete's corner. We're going to shoot, we're going to go, and Pete gets 3 questions for me, and we start off this show 1, 2, 3. Shoot, Pete.
All right, I'm going to hit you right between the eyes with the first one. Can the Celtics win without their number one?
I love it. I love it. Great question. So contemporary, Pete. Pete's been glued into these playoffs, as you can tell, as we have. I really, really enjoyed watching the game the other night in the Garden because everybody had them pronounced dead. Jason Tatum goes out with an Achilles. The Knicks take real advantage in the series. A 3-1 is a real advantage, folks. That means they're on top.
Yeah.
That means they're in a wrestling match and they're on top. Okay. The other night in the Garden, Celtics responded. What happened was they came off of 1-1 time because it was all Jason Tatum up to that point. Even Jaylen Brown had kind of just dwarfed, and even Derek White, they just weren't producing because it was all about that 1-1 time of the Celtics being on Tatum. Now, Tatum had 40, but it wasn't working. It wasn't producing the desired results. Last night, what you saw was 6 Celtic players in double figures and a really, really good movement of the ball. A lot of people involved. Derek White, monster game. We got back with Jaylen. He had a really good game as well, Jaylen Brown. Some solid performance from the bench as well, but I think there's something else notable here, Pete, in that game, which was was a critical game. It's every single game for the Celtics right now is an elimination game.
Yep.
So every game becomes a critical game. Why was it critical? Because they lost Porzingis as well, really. Because Tatum was out, they knew that in the beginning, but I don't know what's up with Porzingis. He went out on the floor. He's having some viral or some bacterial complications. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with him, but it was a pretty good move by their coaching staff, by Mazzulla, to pull him, go with Luke Cornett, get solided up a little bit in the middle on defense, and then let your other guys do what they do. Peyton Pritchard has been really, really good throughout this series as well. But we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get through it when we break down each and every single series for you. But, Pete, what a great question. And I'm going to give it to you in the short answer. The way they played last night, they got a real good shot. I thought the Knicks, the Celtics basically have blown this series. They had big leads in a lot of those games, and they've basically blown it. The Knicks have shown such grit and determination, really, really becoming a New York Knicks team, if you will. And there's been some sacrifices made on their end as well, too, with some players that are performing, different roles than ones that they might not normally perform at different times. Jason Hart becoming a real defensive stopper. Karl Anthony Towns not sitting on the three-point line as much as he had in the past, becoming a real presence inside and dominating. So I think that's been really good for the Knicks. They're gritty. They're tough. And so can the Celtics do it? They got to go back-to-back. But if they get through Game 6, I think you're going to be feeling a little bit rosier about that. Great question, Pete. Let's shoot 2.
All right, so question number 2. It appears that in the NBA, 3 points win you the season. Does defense win you the championship?
That's another great question. You're looking at, I said this last week, maybe the week before, if the NBA performed like this all year long, they would not have the credibility problem that they have right now. Now, they further enhanced their own credibility problem with this last NBA lottery draft. We can get into that later. But if you're trying to claw back some of that credibility, I thought the playoffs had done that for them a little bit. A little too physical for me. On that end, I like that the fact that defense has been ramped up, but it's also been dirtier than it has been in the past. Guys getting pulled out of the air, just dirty stuff going on, illegal screens and stuff like that. It's more physical for sure, but the level of basketball has been better too. The games have been better. I got to give them credit where credit's due, but they still got major problems on hand, and I don't think that this is gonna. I don't think this is going to solve everything for them. It has been a good playoff. Let's see how it turns out. It appears like they're going to maybe, if things go right now, you have the Timberwolves and they're ready to go, and then you have the Pacers, who another game that they upset over there. So they're resting right now. The Knicks and the Celtics are getting beat up, and the Thunder and the Nuggets are going into Game 6 tonight. So you got a lot on the plate here, but those teams are getting much-needed rest, especially at this time of the year. And as long as it's not, as we alluded to before, too much rest, I think they're good. Pete, you're 2 for 2. Hit me with 3.
All right, well, let's switch over to the NCAA. I did a little research over the past week, and the NCAA claims that in the first 3 years of the portal, that 66% of players that went into the portal went to other schools. Is that true? Is that how you're seeing it actually happen? Or is that just NCAA cooking the books to make it look good?
You have to give it the full perspective. Number one, I don't think they're charting, maybe they started doing this when players wind up in Division II and Division III, which I don't know how common that is anymore. People that are Division I have now gotten a taste of the money, the NIL package, and on almost every level now they're getting paid. So they want to kind of hang on to that any way they can. And coaches, to be honest with you, there's a lot of desperation out there, Pete. I see a lot of desperation. I also see a lot of high price of mediocrity. Huge amounts of money are being paid to guys that they couldn't earn in the NBA in a million years, and they're getting paid this on the college level. So it's all upside down, turned upside down. But I don't really, I don't know where it's going to go. They're talking about the administration possibly getting involved here with some executive orders, or maybe Congress getting involved here with some laws. I think it might, they were talking about a commission. And I'll tell you right now, that's the last thing you want to do, is get a commission together of all of these high-priced, probably involved constituencies, and then go, yeah, we got a great solution for you. The solutions aren't going to be easy. The solutions are going to have to come from somebody outside of the formula right now. You need an arbitration. You need a mediation. You need somebody from the outside to come in and look at this and craft a solution, because the people that are on the inside have got way too many dollar signs attached to their virtue. Everybody's saying, oh, we're doing this for the good of the kids. I've been hearing that for a really, really long time. And at the end of the day, I just have never, ever seen it. All right, Pete, let's roll. Playoff picture. Let's jump into it in the deep. Start right off with the East Coast, the beast of the East, the Celtics and the Knicks. Man, this has been a good one. Been a very, very good series. Surprising. People don't turn off their television as much anymore, I would imagine, because a 20-point lead in the NBA really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The Knicks just showing that grit, Pete. Just showing that grit. I call him Bad Shot Brunson, but I also call him Big Shot Brunson. He's going to take some bad ones. He's going to take some big ones. But he puts the G in grit. He's about 6 foot, about 6'1". He won the national title when he was at Villanova. The young man's a winner, and he knows how to get his team playing hard and getting after it. And right now, it's Jalen Brunson's New York Knicks team. And if you go back to what the Dallas Mavericks did just recently with some of their trades, him involving one of them, you might want to go over there and scratch your head a little bit. Achilles for Jason Tatum. Bad news for the Celtics. Very, very bad news for the Celtics. I would not be surprised, Pete, if you start hearing some talk, because in the NBA circles right now, you're talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo possibly not being around for the Milwaukee Bucks because he wants to get out of there and he wants to restart his career somewhere. I would not be surprised, although, if they're talking luxury tax and salary cap and all that other stuff. I don't know that they want to take a swing at this, but if Tatum's out for the entire year next year, do the Celtics take a flyer on Antetokounmpo, on Giannis,
wow,
and see what they can do? I wouldn't be surprised right now where you are as the Knicks lead that series 3-2. Celtics staved off elimination in a really, really good fashion the other night, and I think they've got a shot, but coming into Game 6 in the Garden, I can assure you, that place will be rocking. That place will be rolling. Okay, Tatum goes for 42 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists right before he blows out his Achilles. Unbelievable. Jaylen Brown, the $50 million man, up until last night has been MIA in this series. And much of that, I wouldn't blame on him. Much of it is because the coaching staff didn't seem to really know how to get off of 1-1 time. They didn't seem to know how to include everybody else. When 1-1 time blew out its Achilles, they had to go to a more diverse package, but it really, for the beginning, it didn't really look good. And the total reliance on the 3-ball has been good for them. It's also been bad for them. It's a series of blown leads by the Celtics. It's a series of blown leads. The series is about blown leads, and it's a series of blown leads. They didn't have one. They had a few.
I don't understand how you think you can stay hot the whole time if you're just chucking threes.
It's also about not. It's what happens with the other team's defense. You're not putting enough pressure on the other team's defense. You're not wearing them down. You're not getting critical fouls on their really critical players. You're not getting to the foul line, which is an 80%, 75% shot for some of these guys. I get it. You get 3 when you step out there, but when you don't hit a shot for 7 minutes, grandma's sleeping up in blue heaven. She paid a lot for that ticket. Okay? Game 5 was 127-102. It was a blowout. Celtics came out. The Garden was rocking. I've called this series the tale of 2 gardens. Madison Square Garden and Boston Garden have both been rocking. Their fan bases are totally engaged in this one. You got the heart and soul of the Knicks right there. I want to give him a shout out. You wouldn't think 6 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists are something to shout about, but what a great performance he's put on, because he's really taken the defensive assignments and really done a great job. Everybody else is scoring the points. But Jason Hart, I love him. Big Cat, 23-11, and he only shot 3 threes. So far, it's been a great series. I really have enjoyed it. OKC and Thunder. And then the Nuggets, woof, this has been a good one too. Right now, you're at 3-2. Tonight, they go back to Denver with the Nuggets facing elimination as well. I love elimination games because you really find out what that team is made of. It was 112-105, which gave the OKC Thunder the arm, so to speak, in this series. 3-2. It goes back to the Nuggets. I could see this one going 7. The Joker, Pete, he ain't joking. 44, 15-5. He wants to stay alive. The Joker's looking. Finally got some good production out of Jamal Murray statistically, but when you look under the covers, he was 10 for 27 and 3 for 13 from three-point range. He's got to shoot the ball better. Russell Westbrook had a terrible game in that game. There was some controversy about some of that stuff. There's always a little bit of smoke around that, but he's been contributing and doing very well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really been the difference maker for the Thunder there. 31, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. The guy shows up in all categories. MVP candidate. You got Joker and him fighting it out for MVP. The Thunder has great balance. What I love about their balance is they'll put 6 players in double figures on almost every given night. They'll put 5 or 6 players in double figures. That's how you win basketball games, folks. Can't be on 1-1 time. They were 12 of 29 from three-point range. I want to give a shout-out in this series to Alex Caruso. I was wondering why they signed him for all that money. But then I watched him play the other night. His defense is incredible. For a diminutive player, for a guy who doesn't have great size or length, man, his reads, his help and recover situations, his ability to get into plays where he shouldn't really be, man, he's very effective. I understand why they wanted him a lot. He's a defensive juggernaut there. And so right now you're going into Game 6 tonight, and it's going to be a good one. OKC looking to take care of biz because the Timberwolves are waiting already. They won't want to provide them all of that rest that they're about to get right now. All right, let's shift it. We've got back in the West as well. You got the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Pete, open the champagne, Pete. Crack the champagne because Steve Kerr, it's been Kerr-eliminated. We've been waiting since he did that to Jason Tatum in the Olympics. I've been waiting. See ya. It was a hammy by the bay. Once Steph Curry stepped out, it was interesting because when Tatum went out for the Celtics responded and came up and absolutely put together a masterpiece of a game. Steph Curry, hammy by the bay, goes out, and they just have not been able to find that answer, and they were eliminated. Butler, I thought, was playing hurt as well. Timberwolves just walked through that series. I told you Anthony Edwards is the new face of the league, folks. He's the new face of the league. Julius Randle, 31, 5 and 3 assists. He's been scoring. He's been a scourge down low because you got to really worry about Anthony Edwards out on the perimeter doing what he's doing. He's just playing at a really, really high level in every aspect of the game. And then he's making all of the other players around him better. Unbelievable. 121 to 110. They've been getting really, really good production also out of Double D, Dante DiVincenzo, who comes off the bench. One of the guys who was traded with Randall in the trade for Big Cat, in a big thing to help the Knicks. Looks like it's helping. It didn't look like it killed the Wolves either. All right, no Curry, no Kerr. All right, didn't look like the Warriors had any clue the other night. They got a good game out of Podziemski and got a really good game out of Jonathan Kuminga off the bench. If that shows a little bit for the future, yeah. But this is a team that really needs some help, if you ask me. Anthony Edwards, again, one of the young faces of the NBA. All right, Pete, we're over in the Pacers and the Cavaliers, and this is one, just like the Knicks and just like the Celtics series, everybody's sitting there going, what happened? What happened? I tried to tell you during the year, sometimes you can fly too high, and then you got to come down. But this is really a Rick Carlisle masterpiece. Their offense is downhill the entire series. Cavaliers never got going, and they absolutely wiped them out. Tyrese Halliburton is establishing himself as one of the best guards in the league right now. We gave you his name when he was at Iowa State, when we first started doing our show. We love him. Pascal Siakam doing really well. It's a Carlisle factor, though, because that team, as we alluded to before, is getting on average of 30 open looks a game, when the rest of the NBA is 21 and 22. Those 8 looks matter. Halliburton was 10 for 15, 6 for 10 from three-point range. He had 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Monster game. Donovan Mitchell, 8 for 25. The Cavaliers superstar also. It's amazing to me, but between Steph Curry and Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, 3 of the really, really top stars in the playoffs, all 3 of them out to injury. Unbelievable. Miles Turner playing for the Pacers. I want to mention his name because he's an unsung hero just like Jason Hart. This guy's a dog. D-A-W-G, dog. All right, Pacers get the rest. They made easy work of the Cavaliers, and now they wait on the winner of the Knicks and the Celtics. Pete, I sent you my dirty dozen. Can we throw it up? This is the NBA playoff dirty dozen. Pete with the graphics, unbelievable. It's just a situation where we're now going to give you everybody who the best of the best that's still alive. You cannot be in our dirty dozen if you've been dirtied, if you've been eliminated, if you've been knocked out. Right now, it's been, to squeeze 12 guys out of here you think would be tough. It really wasn't that bad. Let's go to Anthony Edwards. My, oh my, the 2 series that they've had, they have made short work of both teams. They're kind of looking like UConn, Pete. When UConn was on that 2-year run, they're looking like they're making difficult games look easy. Anthony Edwards is the major reason for that. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. That's the new face of the NBA, folks. Jalen Brunson from the Knicks, man, he is gritty, tough. If you look at some of the old workout from his dad, Rick Brunson, who played at Temple, also now an assistant coach with the Knicks, and if you ever watch some of their timeouts, he's the guy on the bench who's really, he's like a boxing coach in the corner, telling everybody, keep fighting, keep going. He's the reason they come back. He's the reason they keep fighting. I want to take a shout out to Rick Brunson, who's from Salem, Mass, too. All right. The young man, Jalen, though, he's one of the best lead guards in the league right now. Nikola Jokic, you can't talk about a dirty dozen still playing, although we'll see if they can fight on after tonight. But Jokic has been the Joker. He's been unbelievable. He puts up points, rebounds, assists. And I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Love the year that he's had. In no way, shape, or form should he beat out the Joker for MVP this year. I'm just saying it right now. The boys in Vegas are hard leaning on SGA and that's why we got him in our 4 spot. This isn't a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, who's the best and who's not. This is just a dirty dozen, straight out 12. Because if you had this list and you put it up there, obviously Joker and SGA would be right at the top of it. They're going to be 1 and 2 MVP candidates. He's really one of the reasons the Thunder has become the Thunder. He's put the lightning into the Thunder, Pete. Derek White for the Celtics. Really great game last night. Feeling a little freedom without Tatum, taking all the shots and getting going. He was on fire from three-point range. One of the big reasons the Celtics are still alive and talking about a Game 6 in the Garden. Tyrese Halliburton, this is not Dick Cheney's Halliburton. This is a different set of weapons of mass destruction. This man can hit you with his jumper. He's a great passer. He gets in the lane and he can finish. He's got a floater. He's got a lot of weapons, folks. Julius Randle, we call him Julius Randle here because he doesn't really prefer the defensive end that much. Not really a big D in the Randle, but we think he's playing great basketball right now on the offensive end. I'd just like to see some more effort out of him because, man, could you imagine if your team was eliminated? You had a chance to win it all, and you didn't give everything you had? You didn't leave it all out there? Man, I'd be shaking my head if that dude was me. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns from the Knicks. He's been laying off the 3-ball, which he loves. Big guys love to shoot that 3, just like everybody else. They want big return on investment. But Karl's been skipping inside, paying that big load down, putting that big load down underneath and dominating the paint and doing a really, really good job. Another guy, though, Cat, he's got to get in a stance. He's got to get in a defensive stance. Karl Anthony Towns got to play a little bit of defense if the Knicks are going to get going here. Jaylen Brown from the Celtics, kind of been MIA in the series, but the other night in Game 5, he was fabulous. Fabulous the other night. Jamal Murray, I'm going to call him Sleepy Murray from now on because sometimes seems like you got to wake him up. You know, he has good games, great games, had 40, and then all of a sudden you see him and he's MIA. So I don't know what is going to happen with the Nuggets moving forward if they do not get more consistent performance out of Mr. Jamal Murray. Pascal Siakam, the big for the Pacers. One of the really reasons that this team is doing well. One of the big reasons they're doing well. And I'm going to throw this last one in there, Pete, the dirty dozen. Jason Hart. He's got heart. He's been playing with heart. And if you see those 2 steals he made at the end of those games where the Celtics had last-second shots and he came up with those steals, you know what I'm talking about. This guy's really, really, really put it together. All right, Pete, we got a couple of other NBA announcements, and then we're going to slide a little bit in for the folks that are interested in what's going on in the NCAA right now. We've got a lot of action. Pete brought up the portal. We're going to talk about that a little tiny bit, but the Combine went on the other day. The NBA Combine opened up, and that's a group of college players and some European players mixed in there as well that get invited to a Combine. And there's basically a couple of teams that get divided up, and they play against each other. Yesterday was day 1 of the live competition. Now, I love the live competition, the 5-on-5, because it shows great players playing against great players. And if it's your time to rise, you're going to show it in the Combine. Now, there's a couple of things I'd like to hit the NBA on right here, and might as well go and hit them now. Number 1, open up the Combine a little bit. You could turn that into something really cool. Right now, you got 4 teams with no R.J. Davis, no Caleb Love, a really group of seniors, solid NCAA All-Americans. You got All-Americans that haven't been invited to your Combine. Open it up a little bit. Open it up. And when you open it up, I think you're going to see, some really, really good television coverage on it. I've been pumped to watch it. But here's my other thing about it.
Do they open that up to European players or no?
They do have some European players in there. Yep. Right. But it's invite. You have to be invited, right? And so what happened was they ran this little kind of some kind of G League thing, they called it, but it was a lot of NCAA players. They had a couple of games, and what they did was they watched these little subset of games and then said, we're going to take a bunch of names and invite them up into the real Combine. Mackenzie Mabako from Indiana was one of those guys that was in the game, played very, very well, caught an invite upstairs to play. So you're also seeing some of the top players not on the roster. Cooper Flagg's not on this roster. Dylan Harper's not going to play in the Combine. I didn't see
No,
Ace
they know
Bailey.
they're going top 20.
These
so.
guys are top, VJ Edgecombe might be in there. I'd have to look at the rosters again, but some of the top players are not in there. And I'd like to see them get in there. Cooper Flagg, pretty clearly the number one. The Mavs have said they're not going to trade the pick. They'd be insane if they did. Here's the thing.
Do you think they're worried about injury, though?
They have to. I think everybody worries about it. I think you'd be worrying about a lot there. But, yeah, I'm worried about it, the way he plays. Yeah, throws himself around there pretty good. You do that 82 times, it's going to catch up. No doubt about it. But I think a lot of these guys also kind of morph their existence when they get to the NBA. They take a lot less chances. They're going to shoot the three a little bit more like everybody else in the NBA does because it preserves your body. People don't realize that's one of the reasons people have taken to the three as much as they have, because it preserves their body and you don't go up and down as hard, and that saves your body a little bit. I don't think it makes you a very good player, but it saves your body. But here's the other thing, too. You have a date of June, I want to say it's 15th, prior to the actual draft, where the underclassmen can stay in and then come out. They can return to college. But there's a deadline for that, and June 15th is the deadline. Now, in years past, you would have never, ever thought of a guy like Cooper Flagg taking his name out and returning to Duke. Okay? But if you can get $7 million and stay at Duke, $10 million and stay at Duke, and that eclipses your first NBA contract, I think it's going to be interesting. Because to be honest with you, now that all of these young men are going to go up and compete with everybody for ads, for name, image, and likeness, they're not that valuable. In college, they're not name, image, and likeness people either. They're just being fed money by boosters who claim name, image, and likeness. But when you get to the NBA, all that money falls off. So is it out of consideration that a good portion of these guys who are invited to the combine now might pull their name out and go back to college? Because in college, you can, like Boogie Fland.
They're the big fish, right? They're the big fish they're the big fish in the pond now. But when they go to the NBA, they're going into the sea, and they're no longer the big fish.
Yeah, as far as that other stuff goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And now you're seeing also, so you got Boogie on the Boogie, Boogie Fland from Arkansas, John Calipari's lead guard. A little bit hurt this year, a little bit on, a little bit off. All right, but Boogie, now these guys all have agencies, all have handlers, all have this stuff. So when you look and you say, okay, I don't say like, wow, that young man's making great decisions anymore. I say that man's being handled pretty well. There's a big difference, to the individual making his own determinations in his own future, as opposed to being now cutting 30% of your check to a bunch of people around you who are your handlers. Okay, and so the handlers, at least with this one, have been handling it pretty good. So they put him in the portal. Now you're going to go and you're going to sign up for the NBA combine or put your name in the underclassmen draft. And then you'll have up until June 15th to take your name out. And so Boogie is already on the Boogie. He's taken his name out, but now gets to go back. And why would you take your name out early, Pete? Because you have till June 15th. Why wouldn't you wait?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because the money is getting eaten up. All of the big money contracts in the college are being handed out. And so you got somebody, okay, we got a $10 million payroll. I'm going to read off some of these payrolls in a minute. It's going to knock your socks off. But you got people on payroll now, and then you're sitting there going, wow, how do we handle that? How are we going to do that?
The music's just about running out in the NCAA, right? Time to sit down in a chair or you're left.
Musical chairs.
Yeah.
Great analogy, Pete. Yep, because eventually now you're going to get out there and somebody say, okay, we got $1 million left when you were $2 million at Arkansas. And so then you're going to have to ask yourself, have you been handled well? And that's why I think maybe in this case he was handled well. Went in, NBA people are like, I don't know. Because he took his name out, now I wouldn't consider him. But I don't know, if he left it in, is he late first round? Is he second round? And if you're in that situation, you're going to make more money in the NCAA, for sure. And so I think you're going to see a little bit of this turning away some of these young players who might jump into the NCAA and go to the NBA very quickly, I think you're going to see that last a little bit longer. I think you're going to see him stay in college. Now, Cooper Flagg, obviously, will get paid no matter where he goes. But
I think if you see any hesitation on the NBA side, they'll stay in college.
Right.
Any hesitation.
Right. And the NBA people are all in the combine. And so the agents go up to general manager of the, Phoenix Suns. And they're like, hey, man, where do you see our guy Boogie?
Yeah, what do you think?
And he says, man, we're taking Maxime Renaud with our pick. We're already locked in. We know who we're taking. And then they go, okay, who are you taking? And who you got? And what are you doing? And then they find out his range. And then they look at the range and say, okay, he's better off in college because the range where he's going to get drafted, he's going to make a lot more money in college. He's going to play 30 games instead of 82 games. Going to preserve his body for a little bit longer for when he does eventually make the NBA. But I'm telling you right now, a lot of these guys that could get into the NBA right now are not getting in there later on. If you go back to college for 4 years, you're going to run that risk of now you ain't getting in because all of those rosters are eaten up. Baylor Shearman came on the Celtics this year, barely played. Nehemias Quaida, been on the Celtics for 2 years. Boise State, I like this young man. He barely ever gets off the bench. So then you're saying they don't play, and then you only have X amount of spots on the roster. There's only 30 teams, and so you're talking about a finite number, and once that number starts to go and go and go, these teams don't have any room. Every single coach out there right now, whether you're Division 3, 2, 1, NBA, you got to manage your roster right now. And you got to manage it properly and appropriately. If you don't manage it well, you're going to run yourself out. All right, Pete, here's one I thought that I was going to surprise you and say, Pete,
all right,
let's go to New York. Let's go to the Knick game. I got some extra money laying around. Let's go. I didn't have $98,791 for one ticket.
And then you looked at the ticket prices.
I didn't have an extra $200K laying around for 2 Knick tickets. Now, I don't know if that ever got sold, but that's,
Is that courtside?
I would hope so. I would hope so.
It's not a guarantee.
For $98,000, I want to go on layup line. For $98,000, I want to play 10 minutes. For $98,000, you better have a whole lot of stuff planned in New York for me. Unbelievable. Jason Tatum from In the Zone. We really wish you a strong recovery. The Achilles is a very, very difficult. You see it with Dame Lillard. They're talking about him, and this is part of the making of the thinking of Giannis Antetokounmpo as well, because if they had Dame and they had him and they had one more guy, maybe it's workable. Maybe he stays around. Maybe he builds out his career with the Bucks. But one of the things that was interesting to me, because I was doing a little research back in the day, was all of these guys back in the day who only played for one team. They stayed with a team their entire career. The entire time. Patrick Ewing with the Knicks the entire time of his career. That's missing. That's missing right now. But, Pete, if I had the extra $98,000, I promise I would have gone. All right. You have teams right now. This phrase was thrown about on Twitter the other day. And somebody threw it out and they said, they're in win now mode. And a bunch of Twitter people came back and they were like, what's win now mode? So I want to explain it to you. Win now mode is an NBA roster that's constructed basically of older superstars who have their twilight dwindling in front of them, and they're trying to take a last run at being relevant. They want to take one more shot to try, and some of them already have rings. Some of them are trying to stay in there and get going. Some of them are trying to accumulate talent like Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler. Oh, one more guy, and we've run 3-3 time like they used to be. I just think that some of these teams are trying to hold on. Who are they? Who's in win now mode, Pete? Number one win now mode team, the Lakers.
Yeah.
You got LeBron. Now they brought in Luka. They're going to be looking to bring in somebody else. But do you think, like, there's a bunch of people that are sitting there going, you know what happened, I think? I think that they had, okay, you're going to trade Luka to the Lakers, and the guys in the other line were going, we're going to do what? No, you're going to trade Luka to the Lakers, and we're going to give you Anthony Davis. Like, what? And he said, but wait, you'll get the number 1 pick. And he said, wait, we only have 1.8% chance of winning the number 1 pick.
Means nothing, yeah.
1.8% chance. Mm-hmm. The guys on the other end said, you'll be fine. The Warriors, Steph Curry, win now mode. Jimmy Butler, they're in win now mode. They want to get that ring. They want to get it going. Kerr wants another shot. The Clippers, with the AARP crowd they got over there, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. If they could get it together, maybe one more guy, can they make a run? Can they get that extra guy in there? Maybe a point guard that moves Harden off to the slot where he can be a scoring dynamic. And they got a pretty good big in there with Zubac. Maybe you can make it together. If we only get one more guy, it's that I love it. It's that cry of that. If we only had one more guy. The sun is setting on the Suns. Durant, Beal, Booker. Booker's real young. So's Beal, but they're old young. They're beat up. They sit out a lot of games for injuries. And everybody's talking about they want to trade for Kevin Durant. And all I can say is, why? Why? What major team that's going really good right now wants to shake up what you got and add Kevin Durant? You tell me you got Giannis, I'm all in. You tell me you want to bust Anthony Edwards out of Minnesota, I'm all in. You want to tell me that Zion ain't a Pelican no more? I'm all in. But this other stuff's crazy.
There's all these players in these crappy teams that want out, man.
I'm telling you, the NBA got to open it up.
Yeah.
NBA got to open it up. I got a little bit of work.
When does the NBA portal start?
Very soon. Very soon. And it's going to be a great day when you see like a team just get eliminated right now. The Warriors have been eliminated, and so the Thunder have now traded for Jimmy Butler right after he was eliminated. They're just going to have no trade deadline. You can do it right up until the finals. Bring in a guy, just accumulate all the best talent that the NBA finals looks like an all-star game.
Just turn the NBA drafting and things over to fantasy league.
Okay.
Fantasy league managers.
Here's what all of those, I love when, what conspiracy theories are? They're the truth that hasn't been born yet. All right? You see it all over. You see it in politics. You see it everywhere. John F. Kennedy, oh, my God, that was such a conspiracy theory. Yeah, not really. When the LeBron got traded from the Cavs, guess who won the lottery the next year? The Cavaliers. When Chris Paul was traded, the Pelicans won the lottery. The next time Anthony Davis traded from the Pelicans get the lottery again. The Mavericks with a 1.8% chance, they got the lottery. All right, Pete, I'm going to lay it out for you because I don't want to be a guy who just sits here and throws out, this is what's wrong, you stink, it's bad, you got to clean it up. And we do a lot of that here, and it's rightful, and it's definitely valid. Our concerns, our criticisms are valid. But the reason that I make them is because I'm the game guy. I believe in the game, and I want to see the game be good on all levels. That's all I hope for, and that's all I pray for. If paying young men millions of dollars is good for the game, then so be it. If destroying the amateurism that drove this sport is going to be good for the sport in the long run, then so be it. I'll sit here and I'll be right there 100%. But I don't think that's what's happening right now. And what happens is you got to freak the geeks. I'm going to say it right now. You got to freak the geeks. You got to get all those geeks that you let into that thing, into that room, who made all of these crazy rules, who came up with all of this crazy stuff. It's time to freak the geeks. Get them out. I'm not saying that, but you're letting them run the whole thing right now. And this is obviously not basketball people who are making these determinations. They're PhDs. They're lawyers. They're all people that never dribbled a basketball before in their life, making determinations about basketball. If I wanted to know about chickens, I'd ask a chicken farmer. If I wanted to know about square roots and mathematical equations, I'd ask a PhD from MIT. If I wanted to know about basketball, I wouldn't ask the geeks. Pete, here it is. I'm going to give you a quick 10 and a quick 10. Here's 10 ways that the NBA can clean up their stuff. I got more. I got lots. If you guys want to bring me in, Adam, Hio, Silver, you want to bring me in? I can deal with it. I'll come in, we'll sit down, we'll talk, maybe get me a couple of nice golf courses to play on, and you and I can just go around and shoot the breeze, and I'll tell you exactly what you got to do. But I'm going to give it to you for free right here, Adam. All right? First thing, number one, 10-minute quarters. Take it out of 12. They play 40 minutes in the NCAA, play 40 minutes in the NBA. Keep your quarters, but instead of 12 minutes, they got to go down to 10. That'll keep the enthusiasm for defense higher. It'll keep the enthusiasm for playing harder higher. Okay? 40-minute game, that's it. Number 3, draft lottery for all 30 teams. Stop sending the best players you have to a toxic waste site. Stop sending the best players you have, and now you see it with Cooper Flagg, because here's something they don't want to tell you, Pete. The Dallas Mavericks were sold recently. Big old Cube, Mark Cuban, sold the Mavericks. He sold them to one of the Adelsons. Okay, what are the Adelsons into? Casinos, hotels, Vegas. And so there's a chance that the Dallas Mavericks are going to Vegas. You take Cooper Flagg, who is the first Caucasian player drafted since Kent Benson, you're going to make a lot of money off those jerseys. You're going to make a lot of money off of that stuff. That's why they're saying we're not really interested in trading him, because, A, if we traded him, it might be really, really good for our franchise because we'd pick up an awful lot of people. But we're not trading him because we ain't passing on the hundreds of millions of dollars that are about ready to fall out of the sky.
This sounds like the Caitlin Clark effect.
No question. No question about it. But a draft lottery for all 30 teams. Eliminate all special defense rules that you have in the NBA. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody cares. And it only involves the officials more than they have to. Stop slowing the games down with all of this review and all of this other stuff. Make the game go. Nobody likes you. Don't stay around that long. Okay? Here we go. Regular season, 70 games, Pete. 70 games. You're going to have 15 and 15. In your conference, Eastern Conference, you're going to play each team 3 times. And then you're going to go over to the West Coast and you're going to play all of those teams 2 times. That's going to give you a 70-game schedule, going to keep everybody fresh as a daisy. Keep everybody running the floor hard. Keep all of the fans interested and excited in games that really matter. And it also, here's what I'm going to tell you, folks, and I don't want to give it to you this way, NBA folks, but you've created a subclass of NBA teams. And what that does is it stops your NBA subclass from being out for 35 games. Okay, your NBA subclass, the Pelicans, the Wizards, the Jazz, at the 35-game mark, they were cooked. They were fried. And you go, we don't want anybody tanking games so they can get draft picks. They're not tanking. They stink. There's a huge difference. Okay. Pete, we're going to empty the cup. The NBA is going to empty the cup. Get rid of it. It stinks. In the middle of the season, nobody cares. You didn't need it. It wasn't broke. You tried to fix it. Get rid of the cup. Okay? You're going to eliminate the salary cap, big guy. That's right. You're going to take it out. Team can sign anybody they want for any amount of money they want, and if the team can handle it, and if they don't, and we're going to take out the luxury tax, we're going to take out everything. So if you want to give Jaylen Brown $100 million, you go right ahead. But I venture to say that when you take out that salary cap and you let teams do their own stuff on their own business, and like the Celtics who wound up with a $270 million luxury tax, I think they're going to make more prudent decisions when there's ability to get in there and say everybody's under the same constraints. We don't have to throw money around like crazy. Eliminate the salary cap. It's actually going to decrease salaries, okay? Take out your play-in playoffs. They stink. You shouldn't have teams that are sub 500 in the playoffs. Get them out. They stink. You're just looking for TV money. Nobody cares. Go with your 8-on-8 and rock and roll. You'd be better off. Get rid of it. Euro cap. I'm calling it, Pete. I'm calling it right now. I want a Euro cap. For years, the Europeans have placed a cap on American players coming over there. The cap still exists to this day of 3 Americans on each team. I want a Euro cap because we're fighting the rest of the world. The rest of our players are fighting the rest of the world here, where everybody else was just fighting America when they put the cap on us. Now we're fighting the rest of the world. I want a Euro cap. No more than 3 per team. That was theirs. That's what I want as well. And I want the trade deadline taken off all year long. Trade anybody you want. Trade them anytime you want, right up until the playoffs start.
Ooh, okay.
That's my 10, Pete. That's my 10.
All right, the problem is, are you going to affect this? And take a look at your screen. Is that the problem? Are you going to affect that?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, Pete. You know, and here's what I'm going to say.
It's all about the Benjamins.
Yep. No. And I'm going to tell you this. I took an economics class in college. St. Bonaventure University, fine institution. I took an economics class, and I can add, subtract, divide, and multiply, but after that, my math skills are done. But I took an economics class, Pete, and I found out this. If I have a pencil, okay, and I try and sell the pencil for $10, and I sell 10 pencils, I've got $100, correct?
Yeah.
You're with me, right?
Yep.
But if I lower the price of this pencil down to $5, and hence I sell 30 pencils, I made more money, didn't I? Mm-hmm. So if your product gets better and your price gets to the right spot as well, you're going to sell more. People are going to watch more. People are going to be more excited about the games. Instead of having 1 million people watching, now you got 1.5. So you're going to get more for less. I know they don't understand that concept, but they will, because they'll be improving the product, and that's what they should have been worried about the whole time. All right, Pete, the draft order, you talked about the Mavericks, okay? 1.8 chance. Now, here I'm going to throw it to you because I know we got some people that didn't fail math like I did. In that draft order as well, there were 3 teams that had a 14% chance. 1.8, 14, 1.8, 14%, 1.8, 14%. Oh, not only did they beat one team with a whole lot, with 14 times more the strength of theirs, they beat 3 teams with 42 times the strength of theirs. Unbelievable. So it's the Mavericks at 1. It's the Spurs at 2. They're talking Dylan Harper. This is what I'm going to say right now to all of you NBA guys, because June 25th kicks off. Call me. Call me. Because if you're going to follow the mock drafts that are out there, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. And I'll take you back to another draft a bunch of years ago. I forget the year that it was. I might have it written down here if I can find it. But there were 30 picks taken in this draft, and they gave grades out. A, B, C, D, F, all the way down through the grade, like we do, Pete.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
and we do the same thing, you know, and we'll do the same thing when this draft comes out. But how many Fs out of the 30 picks do you think there were, Pete? Fs, grade F. Now, this is in retrospect. These guys didn't play. They got caught. They didn't have good careers. How many Fs do you think were in this cohort of 30?
60%?
14.
That's
14 Fs.
half, yeah.
Now, if you go back into last year's first round, how many Fs are in that one? This is what I say to people. You should reach out to basketball guys who really follow the game. Just get different opinions, because if you're looking at those mock drafts, because right now they're saying Dylan Harper at number 2, when the Spurs, this is the other thing that just is unbelievably unfathomable to me. Where is Wembayana? Why haven't you heard his name mentioned one time since he went out? Is he ever going to play again? Is he back? Do the Spurs have him? Do you think they should know that going into the draft? Because if you're going to draft Dylan Harper and you just had Stephon Castle win Rookie of the Year, I'm not sure that's a good fit. But they're in the 2 spot. In the 3 spot of the Philadelphia 76ers, and they need a lot of help. They're not going to find that much help in the 3 spot. Charlotte Hornets, 4. 5, Utah Jazz. Here's where it gets bad. You got the 4th, 5th, and 6th pick. Charlotte, Utah, and Washington. Oh, my God. Now, good side of it is you might be able to go there and really max out and do well, because they need you. They have to play you. You get a lot more shots in their rotation. You get a lot more attempts in their rotation. That might be really good for you. But right now, it's also could be a veritable graveyard for certain players. So we got the Hornets, the Jazz, and the Wizards going out 6. 7 of the Pelicans. Let's extend it all the way down. 4 to 7 is ugly. Brooklyn Nets, they got a couple of picks. I think the Brooklyn Nets have 4 first-rounders here. So they could get healthy here if they're smart. Call me, fellas, because the way you went about it last time, it didn't work. All right. You had multiple picks last year, and it didn't work for you.
Are you calling for the summer of Sutter?
I think it would be – I love that, Pete. I love that. Toronto Raptors, 9. Houston Rockets, 10. The Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are for sale, Pete. I don't know if we have a couple of billion laying around in our war chest. We could go purchase the Trailblazers. Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks. Close out 12 and 13. 14, you have the number 2 and the 14 pick with the San Antonio Spurs. OKC Thunder at 15. Now you got the Magic at 16, the Timberwolves at 17. Go back to the Wizards. Here you're going to get the multiples. Wizards now have 6 and 18. The Brooklyn Nets have 8, 19, 26, and 27. 4 first-rounders. They could get healthy there. 21 and 5 at the Utah Jazz. 13 and 22 for the Hawks. So everybody from 18 to 22 has multiple first-round picks. This is how some teams think that they're going to climb back to relevance, and I think it's probably a pretty good idea. You're not win for now. These are not win for now teams. Indiana Pacers at 23. Picked up Ben Shepherd last year late. OKC Thunder at 15 and 24. That's what we're talking about as the OKC Thunder. Sam Presti is the general manager. They are poised right now to have the brightest future in the NBA. Poised. They've got the best roster. They've got the best draft picks. They're going at it, and they got it going pretty good. And they got a very good organization there. 24 and 25 are the Thunder and the Magic. The Nets again. Celtics don't come into 28. The Phoenix Suns come in at 29. The Clippers come in at 30. And now you're going to see that some of these teams that are built for now don't have a first-round pick. Lakers, no first-rounders. Knicks, no first-rounders. Celtics, not till 28. Okay, we got some baselines for you, Pete, in the NBA. We're going to shoot through that really quick. Injuries are having a serious impact on all of these series. We talked about that. You've got the Celtics. You've got Donovan Mitchell going out, really, really bad, and Steph Curry. 2 in the East, 1 in the West, and it's not over yet. NBA lottery at 1.8 with the thing. That's not going to help any of the conspiracy theories. Here we want to go, and I want to take you back because this is what they say about, they're talking about conspiracy theories, and they're talking about, well, this happened and that happened. The very first draft lottery the NBA implemented was in 1985, I believe. And the great player at that time was Patrick Ewing. And what happened with Ewing was Dave DeBusschere came up, sat at the podium, and all of a sudden held up the ticket, and the Knicks had the number 1 pick. Okay, a lot of people thought that was shady. Why did the NBA? Because, well, first off, there were 2 things at play here. Number 1, the NBA saw Patrick Ewing as a generational player. Never turned out that way. It never, ever came that way. They thought he would be the next generational player in the NBA, and it did not turn out that way. Now, Why did they go to a draft lottery when Ewing? Because they thought he was going to be that generational guy. They wanted Jordan in Chicago, and they wanted Ewing to be in New York. They thought that that would keep them in the major market arenas forever. They had Shaq out in L.A. That's how they were set up. That's how it was supposed to run, okay? So Ewing was taken first in the draft. They had 7 rounds at that time, Pete. 1985, not that long ago, 7 rounds. Now, again, this is something else I'd throw into the NBA coffers. Go back to 4 rounds. Go back to 5 rounds of draft and get off the 2 nights. Do it in 1 night. Okay, Chris Remley of Rutgers. He's known to be as the last guy taken in that draft at 162. Here's some of the notables in that draft, and you'll see how, wow, man, I can't believe he got picked there. Number 2 is Wayman Tisdale. I loved his game out of Oklahoma. Really, really good lefty. Karl Malone wasn't taken until the 13th pick, Pete. Joe Dumars was taken at 18th. 7, 8, and 9 that year was Chris Mullin, Detlef Schrempf, and Charles Oakley. Pretty good combination right there. At 31, out of the University of Bridgeport, Manute Bol. 35 was Tyrone Corbin, had a really, really good career. 87 was Spud Webb, wound up winning the dunk contest. Here's 2 guys that I competed against when I was at Bonaventure. Our team competed against them, both drafted out of Canisius. The Golden Griffs having 2 NBA draft picks in the first year. Mike Schmreck went to the Lakers at 25. Never materialized. Ray Hall, maybe the best player in Canisius history, went at 105. 160, Pete. Here we go. Mario Elie out of American International College in Springfield, Massachusetts. Played with the Houston Rockets, got rings, big things. Loved Mario. Unbelievable. So let's slide to the NCAA, Pete. Not a ton there, but we're going to go through it quick for you. Here we go with since 2009, you only have 3 teams that have multiple titles. Who are they? The Huskies from Connecticut, the Villanova Wildcats, and the Duke Blue Devils. All right, here's what we talked about before. Here are your payouts for your portal potty. This is what they have to deal with. Number 1. Now, a lot of these were made comments also. I don't know how you came up with that number when they spent like $6 million on 2 guys at this place. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of this out of there. This might just be based on revenue. And so they didn't really decipher, but just some of these numbers are going to be staggering. Number 1, Michigan, $8.8 million. Kentucky, $7.6 million. Maryland, they said they didn't have a bag. Kevin Willard left Maryland to go to Villanova because they didn't have a bag. $7.1 million. They had a pretty big bag. Miami spent $7.1 million. Iowa, new coach. So you see here there's a little bit of a trend here. When you get a new coach, the spending kind of goes up. Also because they're filling in the whole roster. So Miami, new coach. Iowa, new coach. 7.1, $6.6 million at Iowa. Virginia, new coach. $6.2 million. Washington, 5.9. If they don't get it going at Washington, spending all of that money and not getting off the deck, they're going to be out of a job soon. Creighton, $5.6 million. Pretty surprised to find him up here, but Greg McDermott, not going to sleep on him. Georgetown, 5.5, and Xavier, 5.5. Now, you don't see Arkansas in here. You don't see St. John's in here. You don't see a lot of those teams that spent an awful lot of money. I just don't get it. All right, Pete, we promised this to you last week. We're going to go with it right now. This is the top 30 point guard since 2010. All right, 2010 to 2015. And I'm going to go out on a limb that I could give you 3 in 1 year that are better than every single one of these guys. Here they are, Pete. Go way back in your time machine. Pearl Washington, Kenny Smith, and Mark Jackson, all from either Queens or Brooklyn. All unbelievable great players, unbelievable great point guards, pro careers, had the whole thing. But those 3 in the same year, I'm going to say are better than all of these. Anybody in the zone, challenge me. Come at me. Number 1, Kemba Walker from UConn. Jalen Brunson from Villanova, no question. Shabazz Napier from Connecticut. That's why they call it Point Guard University. Trey Butler from Michigan. I don't know how he wound up in 4th. John Morant from Murray State. Okay. Frank Mason from Kansas. Peyton Pritchard from Oregon, now with the Celtics. Cassius Winston from Michigan State. De'Aaron Fox, Kentucky. Tyus Jones from Duke. Lonzo Ball, UCLA. The rest of these guys are just kind of, I don't know. I could go all the way down to 30. Colin Gillespie from Villanova. None of these guys, not one of them, are even close to the guys that we talked about. All right, again, Pearl Washington, Kenny Smith, and Mark Jackson. And there were other guys in that class, Kenny Hutchinson, Alvin Lott, great players in that class that are probably would be on this list. All right, Pete, here we go with the recruiting class of 2025. Where did they go? This is 24/7, and for some reason they love Darren Peterson as much as they love A.J. DeBonsa. Darren Peterson, Norm Roberts retiring. Before he retires, he gets the number 1 player in the country. Going to Kansas, Darren Peterson. A.J. DeBonsa will go to, listen up, folks, BYU. Put them in your top 5 or top 10 next year. Cam Boozer going to Duke at number 3. Nate Ament going to Tennessee, number 4. Darius Acuff going to Arkansas. Mikael Brown going to Louisville. Chris Senack, Houston. Caleb Wilson going to Carolina. Here's one that really going to like. Braden Burries at Arizona. Elijah Arenas, full recovery hopeful. Koa Pete at Arizona. Here's one the Huskies are going to love. Braylon Mullins, 6'10" kid that are going to love him. Malik Thomas, Arkansas. Tunde Yasufu going to Baylor. And Nicholas Kamenia going to Duke. Of the top 15, Duke is getting the 3 and the 15. Arkansas getting 5 and 13. Arizona getting 9 and 11. St. John's, nowhere to be found. Why? They're not recruiting high school players. Auburn, nowhere to be found. They're in the portal. Alabama, nowhere to be found on this list. Why not? They're all in the portal. Now, that's the top 15. You're not going to usually see too much of that. But, hey, that's where it's at. What you're seeing, though, is there's becoming a little bit more distanced between the top. What I mean is you got Duke pulling in 3 and 15. And they also have the other Boozer twin in there who's probably somewhere in the top 25, top 50, right? But in years past, Duke would be pulling in 4 of the top 10. Kentucky would be pulling in 4 of the top 20. You know, and so these schools were just getting everybody. Now A.J. DeBonsa can go to BYU because if BYU comes up with enough pictures of the president, it works out. All right, Pete, we got a few seconds left. We're going to jump right in, tell you a little bit about what we saw yesterday. We were glued to the TV, had my daughter Jordan taping it so we can go back and watch it. We're glued to the TV for day 1 of the Combine. The one thing, as I said before, this is what I really love about the Combine, 5-on-5 play. I got one other thing I love about the Combine, and we're going to share that with you next week most likely. But what they do is they go shoes off measurements. Okay? You got to get down in your socks, barefoot measurement, and they measure you. And I have never seen anybody in these measurements in the combines gain size. But you see guys getting clipped all the time. Number 1 clip right now, it was Drew Timm last year, but Ace Bailey from Rutgers somehow left Rutgers at 6'10" and showed up in the combine at 6'7.5". You're not doing these guys any favors because when guys get in there and they go, oh, he's 6'10", then they hear he's 6'7.5", you've already put your player at a disadvantage. Get the same measurements going as they do in the combines at these colleges. For years and years and years, basketball people have, for whatever reason, I don't know, inflated the heights of all of their players. I guess if you look at their roster and it says 7 foot, 6'11", it might be intimidating, I guess. But for right now, what you're doing is you're setting these guys up to look bad if they do get a shot going to the Combine. I watched yesterday, and again, this is why I say, if you're going on some of those mock drafts right now, you're going to get embarrassed. Pick up the phone, ask around, Check out with people that are in the business. Call other college coaches that competed against these guys and ask them. Number one, Maxime Renaud. I'm going to give him to you right now. Went to Stanford. Big kid out of France. He's long. He can shoot. I want to see him get stronger, but a little bit like Zach Edey, but this guy can shoot 3 balls. Tahad Pettiford of Auburn came into the combine yesterday and said, fellas, I'm here. Check it out. He's small. He's about 6 foot. He's got about a 40-plus inch vertical, though. He has a rocket to get off the floor with, and he is a tough, tough competitor. I think he's going to be an okay point guard in the league. Right now, if you're looking at all the lead guards in there that are available, Mark Sears, R.J. Davis, the kid Smalls from West Virginia. I don't know. Tahad Pettiford just put them all on notice the other day. Yannick Conan Niederbauer, folks. Get that name. It's going to go. He's rising. There'll be 2 names that rise really fast in this draft. I'm going to give them to you now. Yannick is one of them, and Cedric Coward will be the other one. Cedric Coward could go to Duke, or he can go into the NBA. Right now, that's what this combine is all about for these guys, to go and say, I'm going to the combine, and then I'm going to listen. I'm going to evaluate and see what I can do, and this is what I can get from Duke. This is what I'm slated to get in the NBA and make a determination. I thought Ryan Nembhard, his brother's already in the NBA. Gonzaga, Pete, very, very solid point guard yesterday. Probably would line him up behind Pettiford as the lead guards. P.J. Haggerty from Memphis. Not sure how he's going to fit into the NBA, but he had a very good game, very solid. Jameer Watkins from Florida State showed me some outside shooting ability that I didn't know was there. Yaxel Landenberg, UAB. Again, he can go pro or he can go to Michigan for a big old bag. Ortega Owe from Kentucky. Didn't really have him on my board, but he showed very well yesterday. Tamar Bates from Missouri. I like him, his length, his ability to get in there. Question with Tamar Bates as far as first round is your shooting ability. Jalon Moore, the other guy I'd say from Oklahoma, pretty good. I'm going to throw out one more guy for you, and it's Hansen Yang, 19-year-old out of China, 7-footer out of China. Very, very long way to go as far as getting stronger, but he played pretty good yesterday. He's got some abilities. Pete, that's it. We're in the zone. That's the fastest hour that we've ever had. Folks, we got our NBA draft coming up, and you better get pumped because we're pumped. We'll see you next week. You're in the zone.